Senators Angus King, independent from Maine, who caucuses with the Democrats, and Todd Young, Republican from Indiana, recently returned from a trip to the region. I spoke with them Tuesday.
We went to Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Oman, and had an opportunity to visit with government leaders, with our own diplomats, and with military personnel stationed in the region.
You're the only ones to have one-on-one FaceTime with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia and the Crown Prince of UAE. What is your takeaway from those meetings?
Number one, in Saudi Arabia, they understand they have a problem over here because of the Khashoggi incident and also because of what's going on in Yemen, and they're working to try to improve that situation with their relationship with us. But I think both of us came away with the impression that they have a ways to go. On the other hand, some very positive things are happening over there in terms of, in Saudi Arabia, about women, for example. We met with a group of women and say that there are revolutionary changes that are taking place in terms of the status of women. Neither one of us wanted to be snowed by, hand-picked people. So we did a lot of back-channel conversation with our people there, our embassy people, our intelligence people, and they confirmed that something is happening, and it's different, and it's a cultural change.
Smart foreign policy is focused on root causes and what is driving so much terrorist activity, whether it's Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula in Yemen or Hezbollah in Lebanon, is extreme versions of Islam. So not only is economic modernization being driven by this current regime in Saudi Arabia, warts and all, but some modernization of the culture as well.
A great American once said, trust but verify.
The big issue in that region, obviously, is Iran.
Yes, tension with Iran is higher than it's ever been in recent memory, and it's really important that we maintain strong and positive relations and candid relations with our security partners like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and others.
Those two leaders don't want war, though.
Nobody seems to want a war. Here's the concern, though. One of the things that I was really looking for when I got there was the chance of an accidental war. And everybody's worried about that. These guys who interact with Iran more than we do, they say Iran doesn't want a war. President Trump doesn't want a war. We spent a very important afternoon on the USS Gonzalez, a U.S. destroyer in the Persian Gulf. They're constantly seeing these Iranian gunboats, circling the boat and going into various areas.
They indicated that one of these small vessels, just 300 yards away from their own vessel, days prior to our visit, one of the Iranians had loaded machine gun ammunition into the machine gun. They could hear this. That's how close they were.
All it takes is one guy on one of those Iranian gunboats that opens fire on our sailors, and then, that's how wars start. And so the biggest concern I have, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to go to Oman, because they have a relationship with Iran that we don't have, and they can be a conduit for some kind of discussions to avoid a miscalculation.
Have they talked about a wish to do that?
They've often been in international back channel to conversations. They're willing to play that role again when all parties are ready.
The challenge is how do we keep the pressure on and at the same time open the door to some kind of more comprehensive negotiation?
After this trip, do you have a sense that there is at least the possibility that Iran, after all the economic sanctions, feeling that pain, may be willing to do something to step away from the precipice?
It's hard to tell whether or not Iran would be willing. The economy taking a nosedive, with the Iranian currency going down, it would behoove the Iranian regime to come to the table and arrive at a peaceful settlement here. And I think we're doing the best we can.
I'm slightly less optimistic. There are politics in Iran just like there are here. And there are factions. And dictatorships have a way of resisting sanctions. They're always going to have their Mercedes and caviar.
In Saudi, a big concern here is about their effort in Yemen. They had pledged a big humanitarian package. Your understanding that's coming to the foreground?
Yes, in fact, this is something that I directly posed to Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. As long as that assistance was not forthcoming, that could further exacerbate the security environment. And we were assured that in coming weeks, the final tranche of that humanitarian assistance would indeed be forthcoming.
By the end of the month was what we were told.
And you're talking a big sum, like 500 million or something?
It's 500 million. Between the two of them, it's $1 billion. 500 from UAE, 500 from Saudi Arabia.
To Yemen.
To
UN,
try to get
through the UN.
Exactly, through the UN or through other agencies.
We are where we are now, and we need to be working with our security partners like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, like the Emiratis, to stabilize that situation and do whatever we can to get the Iranians out.
We got some pretty optimistic views from the Saudis that they thought that there were discussions to be had that could wind this thing up. The real key will be, will the Iranians allow the Houthis to make a deal, or will the Iranians want to keep it going just to stick a finger in the eye of the Saudis and us?
You're on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. You're on Senate Armed Services and Intelligence. You caucus with two different parties. Why do this trip?
Well, I can give you a short answer. A very wise old man once told me that one day of seeing is better than 30 days of reading. You learn a lot in a face-to-face conversation.
We need to get on the ground. We need to get to know the leaders personally, develop a mutual understanding so that we can be supportive of the administration's policy.
Senators, thanks very much for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett.